Hello friends, this is Blessed Prince with you. In this video, I am going to discuss on inter-thread communication with a very simple example so that we can understand very easily. So for that, I'm going to create a new project. So I'm going to open NetBeans. I'm going to create a new project, Java project. I choose Java application and I'm going to name my project as producer consumer. Okay. Now, so to illustrate this example, I'm going to consider a scenario where we have a dosa master who is going to prepare dosas, and there is going to be a supplier who is going to supply the dosa. And we have a dabba where the dosa master is going to put the dosa in the dabba, and the supplier is going to take the dosa from the same dabba. Okay, to illustrate this scenario, let me create classes. As I said, now there is going to be a dosa master, so I'm going to create a class dosa master. Okay, and I'm going to create a class, maybe here, class supplier. Okay, and I'm going to create another class called dabba from DUBBA. Let me take a class called dabba. To the dabba, the dosa master is going to put the dosa, and from the dabba, the supplier is going to take the dosa. So in this dabba class, I'm going to have two methods. Maybe let me make it as a public method, public void. I have a put method and I have a get method. Okay. Now, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two threads. Okay, one for the dosa master and another for the supplier. The thread for the dosa master is going to access the put method, and the thread for the supplier thread is going to access the get method. Okay, so in order to create a thread, let me implement runnable interface. Okay, I've implemented a runnable interface. So whenever I implement an interface, I'm supposed to implement all the methods that are available with the interface. So here in the runnable interface, we have a method called run. So I'm going to implement that method. Let me say run. Okay, now same case, I wanted to create a supplier thread. So I will do the same thing. I'll implement this runnable interface, and here also I'm going to override the run method. Okay, now so now I wanted to create a thread, and the thread is going to access the put method from the dosa master. Okay, now the put method is actually in the dabba class, so in order to access that, I require an object of the dabba class so that I can access the put method here. Okay, so to do so, from here, now I am going to create an object for the dabba class. So dabba equal to new dabba. So I have created an object of this dabba class, and so I wanted this dabba object to be available here in dosa master. So what I will do, I'll create a dabba reference variable, and I will create a constructor for this dosa master. I'm going to create a constructor which takes dabba object. Okay, and I'm going to initialize my reference variable dabba. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Okay, now so same way I'm going to do it here also. So I have a dabba reference variable, so I'm going to create a constructor public, that is my supplier constructor, which takes a dabba reference variable. Okay, so now from here I'm going to initialize my object. Okay, now so how to access how to invoke these constructors. Okay, and this constructor so that I'll get this dub object here. So let me say new dosa master of this dub. Same way, let me create an object for the supplier. Okay, so both is done. Okay, so when this both objects are created, okay, I'll pass on this daba reference to this constructors, and I have made this available here. Okay, now so from this dosa master, I'm going to call my daba dot put method. Okay, now in the put method, what the dosa master is going to do, I'm going to assume he's going to for our understanding, let me take a dosa number which is initialized to 0, and each time when the put is called, we are going to increment this dosa number. Okay, so let me go to the put method, which takes dosa number as an argument. Okay, and in this daba class, I'll create a variable, okay, called dosa number, so that when this dosa number is passed to this put method, I will initialize this dosa number. Okay, that's objects dabas dosa number, this dot dosa number equal to this dosa number, so that I can use this dosa number in the get method also. Okay, so now from here the put method is invoked. Okay, and this is okay the implementation of the put method. Now what else here? I wanted to actually create a thread. Okay, now before that, let me complete with this put method. So what we are going to do, I'm just going to print the message. Okay, I'll say put dosa, okay, plus my dosa number. Okay, the same thing when my get method is called, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say just cut dosa, and let me say plus my dosa number. Okay, so now in order to access that methods, okay, so both put and now here I'm going to say daba dot get method. Now so in order to call the start this run method, I wanted to create a thread. So let me create a thread here for the dosa master. I'm going to create a thread, new thread for this current object, and if I want, I can name my thread as master thread, and I'm going to start this thread. Okay, start this thread. So when I start the thread, it is going to call my run method. In turn, I'm going to call my put method. Now same case with the supplier, I'm going to create a thread, so I can say new thread for this current object, and I can name my thread as supplier thread. Okay, and here I can say start this thread. So when I going to start the thread, it is going to call this run method. In turn, it is going to call the get method. Okay, so as of now, this implementation is done. Okay, so now what happens now? Put is called once, okay, from this run method by the dosa master thread, and here get is called once by the supply thread. Now instead, I'm going to call this quite a few times. Now either I can use a condition where I can call it 10 times or 50 times, or I can say call it indefinitely. So I say call this indefinitely, while true, call this put method. So dapa, okay, to the dapa, the put method keeps on putting this dosa numbers like put 1, 2, 3, etc. The same way from the get method, I will say, okay, while true, indefinitely call the get method. Okay, now let's try to run this program. Okay, now okay, it's indefinitely calling this, so I'll stop this. Okay, stop the execution, and if we check through the output, you can see here like the put is called dosa 1, dosa 2, dosa 3, dosa 4, continuously put is called, and from here the got, okay, it says got 11 and got 12 and again got 12. So now this cannot be a right implementation. Now instead, I wanted to say the dosa master has created a dosa, put in the dappa. Now this should be taken by the supplier. Okay, so now what is happening actually, we have created two threads. One is the master thread which is accessing our put method, and there is another thread running which is all accessing the get method. Now instead what I wanted to do, I wanted to make these two threads communicate, inter-thread communication. Thus master thread and the supplier thread should communicate, and once the master thread creates a dosa and put in the dappa, now it should intimate or it should notify to the supplier thread saying that I have created the dosa, it is available in the dappa, you please take the dosa. Like this he need to communicate. Same way, the other way around, the supplier after taking the dosa from the dappa, it should intimate, hey, there is another order. Okay, now create another dosa, put in the dappa. So now this is what their communication should be. Now let's see how to implement that with the concept of inter-thread communication, which is supported by Java, and we use two important methods. One is wait and other is notify. Now, so to implement that, now let me create a Boolean variable. Let me say order, which I have initialized to true. Okay, right? Now, now as long as the order is true, now I wanted the master, because the order is true, the master to put the dosa, okay, to invoke this, that master thread to invoke this. Now what if false? Okay, if my order is false, okay, I wanted my thread to wait. Okay, fine. Now I'm getting an error here. If you could check it, it says unreported exception, because wait throws an interrupted exception. So what I can do, either I can say throws interrupted exception, or I can handle this exception with try catch. I prefer to handle it. Okay, so I can say catch. Okay, here I can say interrupted exception, some I just leave it as now. Okay, so come back to the scenario. So now when this master thread calls the put method, now here the order is true, so the master thread will not wait, this block will not get executed. Instead it will continue here, initialize this dosa number, and it will say put the dosa number. Okay, now so I should not allow this master thread to execute the put method again. Once it has put the dosa, it is supposed to wait for the supplier. So I will, now how can I make it wait? In that case, when the thread again calls the put method, I wanted to make him wait here, meaning this block should get executed. Now, how I can make that block get executed? I can simply say my order equal to true. Oh, sorry, false. Okay. So what happens when the thread tries to access the put method? I have made the order false, so it goes to the wait state now. Okay, now let's look into the get method. Now what happens here? Okay, so if my order is true, now if the order is true, that's a time for the producer or my master to create the dosa. The supplier has no work there, let him wait. Okay, when the order is true, the supplier let him wait. And as we saw already, wait throws that exception, so I will use try catch to handle my exception. So I'll say try this, catch this exception, which is interrupted exception. So now I'll leave here as of now. Okay, now see, now he's keep on waiting. All right, now so once the order is made false, okay, now so he will not wait, okay, or once he is notified. Okay, now from here, because this fellow, when the order is true, this fellow is waiting, so what I will do, from here I will call the notify method. Okay, so it will notify the other thread which is waiting, so that it can continue execution. So now from here, now it is notified, and now it started executing, and it said put dosa number 1. and I should not allow this fellow to again access the get method because he has got the dosa from the dabba. Now he need to wait until further produced. Okay, so how can I make him wait? He should be made to enter this block. So I will say after this my order equal to true. Okay, so what happens here when this thread again tries to access the get method, the order becomes true, so and it will go to this wait block. Okay, now so the same way after supplier getting this dosa, let him notify to the master that I have accessed the dosa from the dabba. Now produce another dosa, okay, or create another dosa. Now like that I'm communicating. Okay, so now with this we are through with this implementation. Okay, now let's see. Let's try to run this program. Okay, let me run this program. Wow, I'm getting an error here. Okay, saying that there is an illegal monitor state exception. Now, why this is happening? Because whenever I try to call the wait or notify method in Java, we must have obtained a log for the object on which we are calling the method. Okay, now meaning like when we call wait or notify method in Java, we are supposed to call it from a synchronized method or from a synchronized block, so that we can avoid this exception called illegal monitor state exception. Okay, so what I'm going to do in order to solve that, I'm going to make this method as a synchronized method. So here I'm going to add a keyword synchronized keyword, and same way with the get method I'm going to add the keyword that is synchronized keyword. Okay, now let me try to run this program. I'll execute. It's executing. I'll stop it. Okay, and let me check it. Okay, wow, so it says put dosa 1, got dosa 1, put dosa 2, got dosa 2, put dosa 3, got dosa 3. Fine, so we have implemented it fantastically. Okay, so with the concept of inter-thread communication with the help of wait and notify method. Hope you enjoyed watching this. God bless you. See you in next video. Thanks for watching.